changed, until 1983, when the tariff system was introduced. The new rules allowed Home Secretaries to set the minimum terms that convicted killers would serve before being eligible for parole on life license. The arrival of the new system brought with it the whole life tariff, a sentence reserved for those who commit the most heinous of crimes. Successive Home Secretaries used this power to increase the sentences of several high-profile murderers, many of whom feature in this book. In November 2002, new human rights legislation and a law lord's ruling stripped Labour Home Secretary David Blunkett of the power to set tariffs. Lord Bingham said the power exercised by the Home Secretary to decide the length of sentences was incompatible with Article 6 of the European Convention on Human Rights, the right of a convicted person to have a sentence imposed by an independent and impartial tribunal. The minimum length of a life sentence is now set by the trial judge, although the Attorney General can still appeal to the High Court if he considers a sentence unduly lenient, and the Lord Chief Justice then has the power to increase that sentence. In response to being stripped of the power to keep killers behind bars, Blunkett outlined new minimum terms to be used by sentencing judges. All convicted murderers are now sentenced to life in prison, but judges set their tariffs. Starting points of 15 and 30 years are available to trial judges, depending on the severity of the crime. These tariffs can be lowered by mitigating factors, like provocation, and increased by aggravating factors, such as the macabre disposal of a body. Whole life orders are the starting point in any case where 2 or more murders are committed that involve a substantial degree of premeditation or sexual or sadistic conduct. This also includes the killing of a child, involving any of the above factors. Schedule 21 of the Criminal Justice Act 2003 operates as a guide to all sentencing judges in Britain. Section 4, subsection 2 of Schedule 21 states that a whole life order applies in the cases of a. The murder of 2 or more persons, where each murder involves any of the following. 1. A substantial degree of premeditation or planning. 2. The abduction of the victim. Or 3. Sexual or sadistic conduct. b. The murder of a child if involving the abduction of the child or sexual or sadistic motivation. c. A murder done for the purpose of advancing a political, religious, or ideological cause. Or d. A murder by an offender previously convicted of murder. Schedule 21 also states that to qualify for a whole life tariff, the offender must have been aged 21 or over at the time of the offence. Soham murderer Ian Huntley, who killed 10-year-olds Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman in his home in August 2002, did not have his minimum prison term set at his 2003 trial because the system on serving life sentences was being altered at the time. Instead, sentencing was postponed until the 29th of September 2005, when the trial judge, Mr. Justice Moses, had to consider the new principles set out under the Criminal Justice Act. In deciding whether to issue Huntley with a whole life tariff, the judge had to consider the principles set out in Schedule 21. Explaining his decision not to issue such a sentence, Mr. Justice Moses said the Huntley case lacked a proven element of abduction, because the meeting between the girls and Huntley, while his then-girlfriend Maxine Carr was away, had been by chance. The judge explained, "It is likely that the defendant took advantage of the girl's acquaintance with Carr to entice them into the house, but that could not be proved." He added, "Their presence in the house thus remains unexplained. There is a likelihood of sexual motivation, but there was no evidence of sexual activity, and it remains no more than a likelihood. In those circumstances, the starting point should not be a whole life order." Instead, the judge chose a starting point of 30 years and added an extra 10 years because the murders were aggravated by Huntley's abuse of the girl's trust and his deceit.